My name is ChiChi, and I just want to give you a little bit of background about me. I designed the clothes from this fashion brand, but my daytime job, I'm actually a trauma and orthopedic surgeon. But I've been designing since I was 12. But I've got a lot of I've always had a lot of interest with pieces of fabric since I was 12 years old, and I used to love to put them all together. It's similar to me about also being a doctor, because it's like trying to build new things, and that's why I'm giving this talk today. So let me give you guys a little bit of background about fabric that comes from Africa. Most of them are actually handmade by local women and artisan women, and that's what we use, and that's part of the originality of it. And we need to make sure that it's environmentally friendly, and in that way that we're able to use original fabric that is really luxurious, so that when it's seen in a piece and you then accessorize it with other stuff, it comes out looking really good for your skin, and you don't have any of the sediments and stuff that comes from things that are just produced in a company somewhere. So what is Ankara fabric? I've worn this so that you can understand what I mean. This is 100% cotton, and it's woven in pieces. The originality of it is that initially it was actually produced in the Dutch, and also some Indonesian people had tried to do this. But because it had a lot of vibrant colors that shows the different tribes of Africa, we're very very colorful. We like to add color to stuff. It's really taken off a lot in Africa, and people are now using it as what they wear day to day in their normal ways of life, and that's what Ankara is. Ankara mostly is like a Dutch wax. It's 100% cotton. It's got lots of vibrancy, and more importantly, it takes a lot of origin from the tribes. What the tribes are trying to represent, and that's what we paint in the colors that we put in the piece. Our brand is called Opis Frocentric, and what that means is Frocentric means from Africa. Opis is from Igbo, part of Nigeria, Eastern Nigeria, and it means the word. And our brand is a little bit different, because the reason why we started this brand is actually to give back to the society. So the profit that comes from this brand goes to empower women that are survivors of domestic violence, not just in Africa, but also in Britain. So at the moment, we work with loads of refugees across the UK. So when people go into a refuge because they're fleeing a crime, we actually get packs that we send to the home to try and empower them with, and actually get them getting back onto where they're going to. The same way we said, it comes from Africa, so it's like the voice of Africa to the world. And what it then does for the women in Africa is that really poor and women in grassroots regions, their businesses are funded from the proceeds from this fashion line. Now I want to talk a little bit about fashion in terms of Africa to the world. At the moment, there's about $1.5 trillion is set to be spent in fashion, and out of it, 31 billion actually is what Africa fashion is worth at the moment, and it's still growing, because there's a lot of focus on bringing this vibrant fashion to the world, to color things more I love the plain colors, but a little bit of vibrancy just puts more magic to the whole thing. Even in Vogue, they've had a lot of features about how vibrant African wax is and how it tells a unique story. And I cannot stop by saying to you, the world is actually waiting for Africa to take over. This is Dior's new collection, and the pieces from Dior's new collection has been taken from pieces produced in Africa, and these are African fabric, yeah? And you've got, that's Stella McCartney saying to you, I want this fabric to be here, this is part of our collection. And a lot of celebrities have reached out and said, we want to wear these colors, because there's a lot of it's so original and it's so fine, that the luxury it brings to the world, it's different. It's and then that at the end of the day, it's all locally produced, so you're changing somebody else's life. So a lot of the fabrics, what they deposit, so what I'm wearing is called peanuts. And what that used to do is that local women a few years ago, maybe 10, 50 years ago, used to have this meeting that's called an August meeting. And in the August meeting, women from the townships coming to the villages to help support other women. When they get to this place, they produce this, because groundnut is plantation of giving back. So each of this fabric has a story to tell. Stella McCartney's used this, which has they've got designs of birds and it's about bringing word to the people, but that's what she's used. The Dior collection is a little bit different. They're all originally produced from 2019, so they're not historic fabric. They've just been produced somewhere in Africa. I think they produced it both in Gambia and different parts of Africa, but they put different pieces with things called tie and dye, is when they dig things and they form different patterns, and that's part of what they've used for their new collection. We've also got a male collection which will launch officially in November, and the reason for that is that we're doing something called He Matters Too, and that's why some of it says He Matters Too means domestic violence and things like gender-based violence is not just about women, right? It's a high percentage of women, but also men that have been affected. And because we've taken on board new refugees this year that also protect everyone else, we've decided to also do a collection that includes men into it. And I just think the piece has to get to everyone at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, what we're saying is that Africa is here to take new movements, and we hope that we can impact globally in fashion. Thank you.